My name is Jordan Sinopoli, and I will be guiding us through today's session. Before we dive in, a few quick housekeeping items here. The webinar is being recorded, and you'll receive a copy afterward. Today's presentation is eligible for continuing education credit through Earmark. I'll go over how to get your CE credit at the end of the presentation. We'll be together for about 45 minutes or so today. Let's get started. So, introduction to Harbor Compliance. Harbor Compliance is a nationwide provider of registered agent, business registrations, licensing services, and software. We also provide extensive nonprofit formation and fundraising compliance solutions to nonprofit organizations through Labyrinth, our nonprofit brand. Never mind. Okay, I'm sorry about that. Why compliance matters. Compliance isn't just a box to check, it's a fundamental requirement. Organizations must follow state and federal regulations to operate. The real challenge is deciding how to meet those requirements in the best effective way. So our presentation goals today, here's what we'll be covering. First, we'll explore the regulatory landscape and the complexities. Next, we'll discuss the interconnected nature of compliance and the trends driving change. Finally, we'll share why outsourcing compliance can free up resources and support growth. So the compliance landscape. Let's dig into the compliance landscape first here, and we'll continue on with the other steps. Compliance is non-negotiable. Organizations must follow laws and regulations or risk penalties, losing their right to operate and harming their reputation. Effective compliance hinges on mastering four key areas: entity registration, record keeping, licensing, and tax obligations. The interconnected nature of compliance. Compliance requirements are rarely isolated. For instance, registering for taxes in a new state may trigger the need to register your legal entity there. Similarly, applying for licenses often requires proof of existing compliance. A disconnect approach increases inefficiencies and risks, underscoring the importance of integrated compliance management. So before we get into this slide here, I have a poll that I wanted to go through here as well. Go ahead and launch that, and we'll give this a couple minutes here till everybody filters through their answers. It's another minute or so. All right, we go ahead and close that poll. And a lot of the audience here today say that they manage the requirements in-house yourselves. So let's see if we can possibly help that out. Let's get back to that. So there have been some recent updates for filing. New online filing system for New Mexico. I'm not going to read all this. You can if once you come back and look at this again, if you want to, this will be available to kind of read through everything. There's a discontinuation of legacy system. Refunds for prepaid balances are happening. No correspondent filings, no online expedited filings for New Mexico. For Vermont, new online filing system, and then new account required for Vermont as you move forward through that. And let's go ahead and move on here. So macroeconomic trends driving regulatory complexity. We'll dive into that and explain more. So while higher interest rates have slowed borrowing for some, mergers and acquisitions remain a dominant growth strategy in many sectors, and compliance plays a critical role in the process. Organizations in good standing have a significant advantage. They can acquire or be acquired without delays or complications. But compliance considerations don't stop there. Post-deal steps like deciding which entities will survive, winding down subsumed entities, and managing licenses and tax registrations are crucial for a smooth transition and long-term success. Remote work and multi-state compliance. The shift to remote work has expanded the regulatory footprint for many organizations. While some companies are encouraging a return to office, remote work arrangements are here to stay for many. As employees work from home for more states, businesses must register to operate in those locations, manage taxes, and ensure proper licensing. I'm gonna have another poll pop up here. I think I might have gone out of order with these, but we'll see. Um, we'll see what happens. I apologize for that. That's out of order. Give this a minute or so as well as the first poll. Just another little bit here. We can close that poll. All right. Go ahead and that one was a little more a little more spread around for all of those. So we could talk about that once we get a little bit further into this. I don't know if I can share those in this, but we'll see. Um, so moving on, we're going to get to sales tax exposure and compliance. The South Dakota versus Wayfair Inc. decision was a game changer for sales tax obligations. While it may have not been received as much attention as it might have under normal circumstances, given its timing shortly before the COVID-19 pandemic, its impact has been profound. That said, ignorance of this decision isn't a defense, and enforcement is real. Businesses now face obligations in states where they may have no physical presence, reoccurring proactive attention to avoid penalties. Let's do a quick check. How would you describe your sales tax registration status? Are you fully registered anywhere, everywhere you need to be? Are you still figuring things out? Are you not sure where to start? Drop your answers in the chat. We'd love to hear where some of you are at. I don't know if we have the chat open. Okay, I opened it now. So if you wanted to submit some of that. If not, it's cool. I'll give it a minute or two, and then we can go ahead and move on. Chat still disabled, but I had it there. Well, it might be a little fail. Go ahead, John.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, the chat comes up disabled for me, but I was curious, does the fact that we have registered as a foreign business in all 50 states uh, mean that we have therefore um, agreed to sales tax in each state?
So there is a fine line, and this kind of gets to that line of you know, we aren't attorneys, so this is more so of we can give you factual information, and that'd be something that I'd have to look to send over to you. But factualize and consulting and giving kind of a push in the right direction is a little bit something that we can't do. So I'll do some Q&A after the actual presentation. So if you can bring that up again once we're done here, and I'll see what if I can find you a better answer than what I just gave you.
Okay.
Okay. All right, we're gonna save the questions to the end so we can get through this. I um, apologize for the chat not being open. So let's go ahead and continue on here. Okay. So next, we're going to look at increased regulatory reporting requirements. On average, government red tape only increases over time. Another key trend is increasing proliferation of regulatory reporting requirements. That's a large word there. I apologize for that. A prime example is the new beneficial ownership information report requirements brought about by the Corporate Transparency Act that took effect last year. These regulations mandate organizations to disclose their significant ownership details to enhance transparency and accountability. This adds another layer of complexity to an already challenging landscape, reinforcing the need for proactive management. As of December 26, 2024, businesses are no longer required to file BOI reports due to the court ruling enforcement of the CTA. However, companies may still submit reports voluntarily if you choose. Recently, it was just reopened that there was a due date of March 21st. Again, that has since been pushed again, and it's kind of I think this is going to happen a few times before we actually know what's going on with it. Um, so for now, there are no penalties for non-compliance, but FinCEN continues to emphasize the importance of BOI reporting. Check our latest blog post to learn more. Moving on to so key takeaway for multi-state organizations. With the rise of remote work, expanding sales tax obligations, and consolidation activity, it's clear that nearly every organization operates across state lines today. Managing regulatory complexity has become a universal challenge that requires a strategic approach. It also means fewer and fewer businesses are able to achieve and maintain I apologize for that. Comprehensive compliance. I lost my place. Meaning those that do are truly differentiated up versus the competition. Um, I have our last poll here. Let's see if it is. right? It was the wrong order, so I apologize for that. But I'm going to launch our last poll here. Give this a minute or so as well. Give this another couple seconds here. Anybody else who wants to throw an answer out in the ring here? Let's go ahead and close that one. This is the same as the other ones. You guys are a pretty diverse group with, some that are going into new places in the next 6 or so months. Um, those who have had a larger footprint in the past that have since kind of maybe winded that into where they particularly do business, and then some are, you guys are in your home state and kind of really just don't see yourselves going out of it. So it's a good mixed bag there. So let us continue on here. So why DIY is not the answer? In many cases, DIY is awesome. In some cases, DIY is um, a hassle. So let's admit it. Managing government paperwork isn't exactly a passion project for most people. But here's the thing, we love it. Yes, we're the compliance nerds who get excited about filing deadlines and regulatory nuances, and we embrace it wholeheartedly. We know it's not for everyone, and that it's okay. We're here to help everyone that can't stand the thought of doing another filing. Too often, this stuff falls on the plate of an overworked admin or a team member who already has a full-time job. It can be a little thankless and a lot tedious. But here's the good news. We're on your side, ready to partner with you to lighten the load and make the process more manageable. Dare we say even enjoyable. We handle the details so your team can get back to work they actually care about. So leveraging specialized expertise in compliance. Accountants and attorneys are rock stars in their fields, whether it's navigating complex tax strategies or providing invaluable legal counsel. Let's face it, multi-state compliance. That's not exactly their idea of a good time. They probably thank you. They'll probably thank you, sparing them the headache of keeping up with the regulatory, regulations and everything, and letting them focus on what they actually can excel at. And for any accountants or attorneys joining us today on today's webinar, first, thanks for being here. If you've ever dreamed of offloading those regulatory tasks to someone you trust, we'd love to chat. We specialize in the nitty gritty, so you can stick to what you know best and enjoy the process a whole lot more. So let's get into the hidden costs of delayed compliance. Procrastinating on compliance might not seem like a big deal until you're in the middle of a fire drill. These last minute scrambles often occur at the worst times, like right before a major bid or an expansion opportunity. And if something slips through the cracks, the consequences can be severe. Falling out of good standing or facing licensing issues can disrupt operations entirely with costly delays. But it's not just the business that's at risk here. These crises take a toll on your team. The stress of constant firefighting, especially for employees who already wear too many hats, leads to burnout, frustration, and inefficiency. Proactive compliance management isn't just about avoiding business risks, it's about fostering a healthy, more sustainable work environment for your team. The strategic partnership advantage. How we can help. Harbor Compliance delivers unmatched expertise in multi-state compliance, from purpose-built technology to extensive requirements data and proven multi-state expertise. We ensure your compliance needs are handled seamlessly, though our strategic partnerships with accountants and attorneys, or through our strategic partnerships with accountants and attorneys, we provide a comprehensive strategy for your organization. So the benefits of proactive compliance. By partnering with compliance experts, your organization can avoid last-minute crises, maintain smooth operations, and ensure uninterrupted growth. Imagine being able to hire that perfect candidate in any state without hesitation, confidently bid on projects across jurisdictions, knowing you'll meet all the requirements, and expanding your product offerings to new markets without fear of tax complications. A strategic approach to compliance is not just about avoiding penalties. It's about creating a stable foundation that empowers your business to say yes to opportunities the moment they arise. When compliance is handled proactively, you're free to focus on what matters the most, growing your business. An example, hiring an employee in a new state. So let's take a look at a routine process for multi-state business. Hiring an employee in a new jurisdiction for the first time. Hiring a new employee might sound straightforward, but ensuring they can be paid requires operating or opening payroll tax accounts in their jurisdiction. The process often lands on HR, but it's really a tax compliance risk or task. HR teams find themselves in the middle, coordinating with payroll providers, accounting, and finance, and sometimes external accounting firms. Sorry about that. I'm getting a call here. Relying on compliance partner like Harbor Compliance with experience opening payroll tax accounts in every state can make the process far smoother. Firsthand, knowledge of the process allows them to navigate jurisdiction-specific requirements, minimize delays, and significantly reduce the risk of mistakes. The right partner will handle the heavy lifting. So all your team needs to do is provide the new account numbers to your payroll provider. With the proactive compliance management approach, you can eliminate confusion, streamline the process, and reduce friction, keeping the hiring process moving smoothly. Hiring an employee in a new state continued here. Payroll tax registration doesn't exist in isolation. It often requires foreign qualification, which means registering your business with the new state secretary of state. This process allows your business to legally operate in another state. It also involves appointing a registered agent to handle official communications and compliance documentation in that particular state. Using a nationwide registered agent provider like Harbor Compliance simplifies this process significantly. You can serve as your registered agent across all states and handle entity filing seamlessly, while routine foreign qualification can still add complexity and ongoing obligations like annual report filings, which can also be offloaded to us from you. And since we have experience with all of these processes in every state, it allows you to take a proactive approach and anticipate these needs up front. This helps you avoid scrambling between HR, accounting, and legal teams and ensures requirements are met without disrupting your business. I apologize. Next, we're going to look at when foreign qualifications are completed. Businesses often discover that obtaining licenses is the next hurdle. While you're in a regulated industry or not, many states require general business licenses for all entities. Legal teams, sometimes with the help from an outside counsel, are typically involved with this process, but it's another layer of complexity. With a proactive compliance partner like Harbor Compliance that can help you see the challenges coming, you can integrate licensing into your workflow, saving time and reducing stress. And lastly, once tax accounts entity registration and licenses are sorted, corporate records must be updated. This step often requires an executive involvement as they are the teams typically responsible for managing organizational records. You might be wondering how hiring an employee could trigger updates to corporate records. Under the Corporate Transparency Act, businesses must keep their corporate details up to date with the FinCEN through BOI reporting. The business and if a business form qualifies in a new state and then a name is unavailable, they may need to use a forced assumed name. While this doesn't happen every time, such naming changes can require an updated BOI report. Failing to report these changes promptly can result in costly penalties. In summary, even basic operations like hiring an employee in a new jurisdiction can quickly snowball and require inputs from across the business. By partnering with the right compliance vendor that can assist you across entity, records, licensing, and tax, you can stay ahead of the requirements, reduce stress, and avoid last-minute surprises. I think that is all I have here for the actual webinar. So now I'd like to open the floor for your questions. So please use the Q&A feature to share any of the questions that you might have. I'm going to take a look at some. I see that there's some questions in there now. I'll take a look at and see if I can answer. So ask everything through there. I'm not going to open up any more mics, just to distracting noises and things like that. And then, as I mentioned at the start of the presentation, today's session is eligible for continuing education credit through Earmark. You can use the QR code on your screen now to download the Earmark app. And after the session concludes, we'll email a 5-question quiz. Once you complete the quiz, you'll receive your CE certificate. So I'm going to leave that on for a little bit here and then get to some of the questions that are in here if anybody had any. So I see one here. Is there any way to check what licenses that a company has, especially medical devices? So the system, the software is integrated with the Secretary of State database, which is a constant data pool that we do every few weeks where it kind of goes through, searches the Secretary of State databases and brings new ones in or updates the current ones. We don't currently have anything like that integrated wise for the licenses. We rely on the person who's currently handling it within the company. Through them, we get however you're managing those through spreadsheet, through however you're doing it. We take that and then we upload it. So we can't find licenses or check the licenses, so we have to rely on whoever's currently doing those for you in house. Another question we got here: I want to expand my business to other states. How do I go about it? I run a medical staffing agency. How do taxes go? So for to expand the business, obviously that is to like we just kind of went through there, foreign qualify into that new state, appoint a registered agent to take care of the Secretary of State side. For staffing, there are licenses that you would have to get. That's not something that we offer an outsourced option for, but we do have requirements and everything for those if you wanted to go ahead and take that on yourself and utilize the software as you go through and acquire and have to do renewals and things like that for those licenses. And the slide's supposed to be changing throughout this presentation. I hope it did. I hope it did. If not, this will be sent to you. So if you did want to look at the slide, I think the slides might be sent. I'll have to look into that. So I apologize for that. This question is from John. Just from John. Does the fact that we are now officially in each state, mean that we already subject to sales tax. So again, the sales tax portion, the tax portion of it, um, we don't have as much information. I don't have as much information on it because we are on the side of we can file for the payroll tax and the sales and use tax and things like that. But when it comes to actually giving advice or telling you exactly how to do it or what you need, that's kind of where we jump off. We are more so of Secretary of State business licensing, and then we're able to set up that sales tax or that payroll tax to get you into that state, to get you registered for that tax. And then it's kind of off to you to manage through that, or off to an actual payroll or sales tax company to then run with those numbers. Um, Last question here. Uh, excuse me. Last question here. How do we know that if an over-the-counter medical device needs licensing by state? So when it comes to uh, healthcare and pharmaceutical, we do have an awesome guide online that goes through each and every state for over the counter, for pharmaceutical, for device, all that kind of stuff is on the website. It will tell you, it will give you all of the which state it's required in. Are there any states that it's not required? What are the requirements for those? For medical healthcare and pharmaceutical, we actually are able to um, go ahead and you can outsource that to us. That's one of the ones that we actually do have licensing for. So we are able to acquire new licenses for you or to renew licenses on your behalf. But you also can go through that software and manage those in-house for medical device or over-the-counter prescription drugs, things like that. Um, Decca, I would like to get the software for out-of-state licensing. You can submit a form submission through our website to get in contact with myself or one of our amazing account executives. Um, we can look at your situation and we can recommend how the ways that we can help out with your business, whether that's through registered agent, Secretary of State, how we can aid with the software, helping out with your licensing. We can certainly look into that once you go through and you know have that form submission of what you're looking for. Same thing for the guide. I don't know if that doesn't come with this webinar. If anybody would like to get in contact with our account executives here, please go onto our website, have a contact submission for us to reach out to one of you. I do think that if there are any chats or questions in here, one of our account executives will get that notification of a question was asked here. Can we reach out? But just to make sure, double make sure, I would go onto our website, harborcompliance.com, and submit an actual contact so that one of us can reach out to you to answer any questions that you have on your situation and how Harbor Compliance can help. Any other questions that we have here? I'm going to give it another minute or two, and then we can go ahead and get off this. And like I said, if anybody has questions, if anybody has, if anybody wants to learn more about the software or our services, please go ahead and go to that harborcompliance.com. Submit a form submission. Have one of our great account executives reach out, um, talk with you, have a meeting with you, talk about your situation, and then see how we can help. All right, so we don't have any more questions or anything. So I do appreciate everybody's time today on this webinar. I did some fumbling over words and some pausing and stalling. So I appreciate your effort to stay here and work through it with me. Like I said before, any questions, any things like that, please contact the website and have one of us reach out and have a conversation with you. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate the time.